Hi, Travis.
Hi.
I am really glad that you could join us tonight in honor of Stress Awareness Month. Being a massage therapist, I think it just kind of connects to say, okay, there's got to be some role that massage therapists play in overall stress management. And I'm sure you have a million tips that you can offer us.
Yeah.
So I just want to share a quick story starting off in that Travis at Twin Cities Orthopedics is one of our massage therapists. And so far has been one of the only providers that can get a migraine gone in 30 minutes. So it's been super awesome to have Travis on staff with us. Travis and Julie both, anytime I get a migraine, I go see them. It's gone in 30 minutes. I don't know. Something magic is going on. Being a physical therapist, I'll admit I cannot get a migraine gone in 30 minutes, but you guys can. So you got some magic touch there. Um,
Yeah,
so
there's something to it.
little success. But I'll let you just do a quick introduction, a little bit about your background, and then I'd love to ask you some questions on tips that we can share with the public on stress management and massage.
Yeah, great. Well, my name is Travis, as Meredith has said, and I've been a massage therapist for the past 2 years now. So I'm relatively young in the field. But before that, I was a dancer and did a lot with somatics practices, and so have always been involved with the body. Went through my undergrad with biology and anatomy and kinesiology focus, and then kind of brought in more of that relaxing, calming energy and environment to kind of develop my massage therapy skills and figure out how to do a right brain, left brain combo with different modalities and techniques to kind of analyze the body and also figure out ways to help it that can't be explained sometimes. It's kind of my big goal, I guess, just to mix it all together.
That's pretty awesome. You actually never told me about the dance background. And
Yeah.
obviously, being a dance medicine, I am super excited to know more about that. But
Yeah.
tonight, let's focus more on the stress management component. We'll have a one off
Right.
on that one for sure. But with
Yeah.
stress management and massage, I think the first question I really have are what are some tips that you might share with people about managing stress at home? What kinds of conversations come about?
Yeah. So something I always tell people at home for managing stress is, well, first off, sleep is super important. It's the most important thing in terms of dealing with stress in a stressful situation. Um, and something I also try and focus on is really singling out the senses and using sensation and sensory tools, just from work with I've done work with children with autism who have very adverse reactions to stressful situations, and the number one thing that helps that I found is really playing into sensory awareness and just kind of trying to reset the system. So I always say like a warm bath with scents, really good, because then you kind of bring in that um, both the touch of the tactile with the warm water as well as invigorating the smells with different essential oils or flowers or just some sort of bath bomb or something. That's always my number one go-to, is just relax with a nice warm bath. It also just kind of helps if you do it at night before bed. A lot of people enjoy that and just kind of are able to let everything go for the day. You can read a book if you want. Some people need to just step away from any sort of text material. So that's my big one that I always share with people. Um, However, I do get the occasional, oh, I don't like taking baths kind of comment, which I totally understand. So for that, I just also encourage some sort of meditation or mindfulness practice. Even when you're eating, it's really easy to just set the screens aside, set the books aside, just kind of focus on everything that's in front of you and just one bite at a time, just take a few breaths, focus on your food, focus on everything in that exact second. And that to me really kind of calms down anything I have going on in terms of stress and what's going on in my mind. So just kind of slowing down for a bit. And with that, breath is always important. I know there's different breath techniques that people use. There's one that's called the dragon breath, where you plug one side of your nose, inhale through one nostril, and then hold it, and then open it up and exhale through the other nostril. For some people, that works pretty well. Another one is to do like a cycle or a square, where you breathe in for 4 counts, hold for 4 counts, breathe out for 4 counts, and then hold an empty space for 4 counts, and then just kind of do that over and over again. I think the big one with the breath and with focusing on it for that is that it really allows you to cancel everything else out and just come to one specific thing. Everyone needs to do more, I think.
Those are great tips for just being able to take a moment out and tune into our own calming senses. I think so many times we hear, oh, calm down or stay in the moment, but in our busy technology lives, we don't know how. So I think you've offered a lot of strategies there between breathing, taking a bath. Some people enjoy the reading, some people don't. Even just focusing on your dinner and exploring the senses of taste and touch and smell and textures at the same time. So I think you've really offered a lot of tips that are very, very practical here. And I hope that everybody finds at least one tip that they could engage with as to how do I slow down that life? So not just slow down the life, but how do I do that? So that's just awesome that you've offered so many tips at one time there. That's great. Now I have to ask, in terms of being a massage therapist, you obviously use touch a lot.
Yeah.
So as a massage therapist and part of somebody's stress management routine, how would somebody even go about starting that conversation with a massage therapist, and what kind of services do you provide for stress management?
Yeah. So with touch and sensory kind of aspect with massage therapy, just warmth is kind of one thing that helps people relax. And human contact is very warm from the get-go, and there's also ways to create more warmth with movement and with different kind of holding techniques or patterns with massage therapy. So that is already a great start when you kind of bring in another person and that human touch and how powerful it can be when we often forget about it. And it just, warmth is huge in terms of tapping into that sensory aspect and getting people to let go for the day. I also start and end every session with some breath exercise. So I encourage the focus on the breath, beginning just gently, laying my hands on them and just kind of starting off and saying, okay, everything else can leave this room. We're here now in this present moment. We're just going to focus on the breath and the body and go from there. And that usually helps kind of get one last exhale out, and people seem to just kind of melt into the table or sink into the table with that. And also we hold stress very, very easily within our body and our muscles, and everything neuromuscular kind of really has a tendency to take in stress, or when we get injured, to take in that trauma, and it doesn't release as easily as it does as we think it might. So some people are holding on to something in a certain area of their body for years and they don't know it, and then it does show up as pain later. And there's several instances where I've been working a certain area, and there has been some sort of big emotional release where it's either laughter or tears or whatever it may be. Some people just have a noticeably different sensation there. They say, oh wow, I haven't felt that relief ever in the last 5 years or ever in my life. Or I had one client who after doing some different scalp and neck work had said, I think I've lived my whole life with a headache until now. And so just when we have that going on in the body, that's obviously going to build on to our mental stress and everything that's coming. And if our body is causing us pain and we can't go inside and we can't rely on that, how are we supposed to be able to handle all of the external stuff that's also coming at us from a day-to-day basis? So I think treating the body and taking care of the body is huge in terms of your external experience to the world.
That's just such a great example that you shared about the person that didn't even realize that they had a headache, maybe for many, many years.
Yeah.
I think I see that a lot in physical therapy too, where somebody will say, I've had hip pain, and maybe they even know they have hip pain for 8 years, 10 years, and then they come in, and of course they want the quick fix. That's our society today. But it's got to be pretty rewarding when you can use the sense of touch and healing to get them to that point, and you get full circle and you get that release, and you go, wow, I no longer have that headache I've had for 8 years, 10 years, or I don't even know how long I've had a headache for. That's amazing. How might somebody know that maybe massage might be a good help to them? What are some of those indications that they say, massage maybe is the right thing for me to try?
Yeah. Well, I think everyone should try massage. Just in general, everyone should get that into their lives. But specifically, if you are experiencing some form of chronic pain, and say you've gone through the gambit of different tricks and techniques, you've gone through different doctors, sometimes, it's not really like massage isn't the first thing that comes to people's minds, but it is huge in helping managing chronic pain. Obviously, I'm not a miracle worker and I can't, take your pain away, but there are different techniques to release in areas that, once again, you might not notice you're holding, that I could be able to feel or see just from a first initial, 10 minutes in the beginning of the session. And so anyone with any sort of chronic pain, also high stress or desk jobs, you need a massage. I guarantee you, just from the constant bending over and being focused on a small little screen, and even if you're at a standing desk, or even if you try and do it ergonomically, your body is still kind of stuck in one position, and our bodies are meant to move, and there's no way that anyone is moving enough throughout their day if they work at a desk. I just think that there should be more movement in general in most people, just to kind of help keep everything going and active and get the blood moving to all the areas. But so anyone that has chronic pain, anyone who works in one specific position or one area, anyone that does a lot of excessive labor in their job or in their daily life, if not even through the job, but like a hobby, if you like to do carpentry for a hobby, once again, that gets you into those rhythms and those kind of repetitive actions that can put a lot of strain on the muscles, that can put a lot of strain on the joints, and massage therapy can really help with managing that and adding it into your kind of monthly routine is incredibly beneficial. I've seen it work wonders for so many people who really commit to it and really do a monthly session.
I'm glad that you addressed that too, because you brought me right into a question that I am asked a lot. A lot of patients come in, and maybe I'm working on their knee or their ankle or their hip or their back, but they always ask me, oh, can you just rub this? Can you rub this out right here? I get asked that question so many times, and I'm like, and I start asking questions about legitimate injuries. And I mean, yes, it's a very, very tight area. Would I classify it as medically injured? No, probably not. But a lot of stress creeps up there. And then I bring up the topic of, I have a colleague who's a massage therapist and does some great work. And then the next question is, well, how often would I need to see them to have any relief? So I know everybody's individual, but with those chronic stress, like, I work a desk job, do you feel like even if they can only make it in once a month? Is that effective enough to be helpful?
Absolutely. Yeah. Um, and in terms of relief, 99% of the time you'll get some form of relief from just one session. That's not going to last forever, obviously, but just starting with one and then kind of gauging in your body kind of what you feel the next day and the next week, that will kind of tell you and give you a new kind of baseline in terms of, oh, if I can feel this good after just an hour, what can I do after 3 hours over the next 3 months? And timing it out differently is kind of a fun game that you can play with your body. And I have some people who they need to come in once a week for a little while just to really work out some stuff that they've been holding on to, or some really intense chronic pain, just to get to a good baseline, and then are able to just space it out 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. Most people, I'd say, it's very similar to a car. Every 3,000 miles, kind of the joke. So every 3 months is always a great, just doing it every quarter of the year is a great time as well. If you're able to do enough of your own stress management stuff at home, or you aren't dealing with very much chronic issues in terms of muscle pain. But once a month it's a game changer. I know from personal experience and from most of my clients who are on a monthly schedule, and just the looking back at notes and seeing the progress that we've made is it's astounding, and I'm always shocked by it and in awe of it every time I look back at kind of where they were when I started working with them a year or 2 years ago.
Yeah, it sounds like it's just a real step in quality of life. And I'd say most people in today's society, at least here in the US where we are, seem really, really overstressed. And I'm glad that you've shared some of the ways that it helps the quality of life. And I know that I've used your services a lot in terms of having clients see you too. And me personally for migraines, I'm like, oh, can you just get this out? And kudos to you for getting them out in 30 minutes when I'm like, okay, I just need my head to work now. And so somehow it always works out. But granted, I see it the second it shows up. So it hasn't been 6 years of headache going into it. And then just little things like I have patients on crutches and I'm treating their lower body, but I know that they've had amazing things to say about, oh, now my shoulder doesn't hurt. Now my back doesn't hurt because Travis has worked on, because Julie's worked on it. So that's been such an asset to have you working in a clinical environment. That's amazing. But I know we're focusing on Stress Awareness Month and stress management. So I think you've shared a lot of home tips, and the fact that people are going to have homework, not only being aware of posture, but also breathing and figuring out what are those strategies on a daily habit basis to unwind, to focus, to give our bodies and minds space to breathe, even for a minute. So you've really focused on a lot of great home tips. And I love some of the things that you've shared about how touch can really help with stress management. And even once a month or once a quarter can still be beneficial. I don't want to keep you on all night. I know we're both after work here and we both have to be up pretty early. Any tips that you would want to share in closing, or success stories or things we haven't really touched on today in honor of Stress Awareness Month?
Yeah, just that it's easy to make stressful situations more stressful, I guess, or to kind of come back to the simple things and to not get stressed out by stress. I know for me, that's kind of my big thing, is that I get worked up with the situation or something, or I realize that I haven't had a massage in a long time, and then I get stressed about, oh, when am I going to fit that into my schedule? When am I going to do this? When am I going to actually take time for myself? And I forget that it's as easy and as simple as just taking 1 minute and closing your eyes and just taking a few breaths, focusing on something beautiful. You can focus on a mantra, look up a quote in between emails when you're at work. Just find something that changes your routine for that day, just to kind of shake up the system a little. And And that's as simple as it can be, and as easy as living a stress-free life as you want it to be. And there are obviously going to be challenges every day and every week, but there's also a lot of moments you can just pause and do what you need to do to kind of move on and get over them, I guess. I don't know.
Those are really great tips, because as you noted, it really is a matter of taking 1 minute and just starting with that 1 minute and committing to, I'm going to take this action related to stress relief, whether it was the breathing you shared earlier, whether it was breathing and experiencing the senses of your food, because I think all of us eat to stay alive, at least to some extent. And, and I think also many of the tips you've shared there, just in between emails, could you look up a quote? Could you close your eyes? What could you do in the moment, even if you don't have time to schedule for yourself that day? So I love how practical tips you've shared with people here too. In closing, is it okay if I share your contact information when we share this recording? Can I share your email and maybe your work phone number?
Yeah, absolutely.
Great.
Yeah.
That way if people have questions and follow up, they can reach out to you.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right. Well, thank you so much for taking time out with me tonight. I will be sharing this recording on some social media, and we'll go from there.
Cool. Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks, Travis. Have a great night.
Thanks, you too. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.